The expensive journey of President William Ruto continues to be the talk both within Kenya and outside Kenya, globally to the African people. Now, Kenyans are divided in terms of those who support President or justifies President William Ruto's cheap flight to the US and those who are against it completely. Not only this expensive trip, but also the baggage that comes with it, mainly Kenya being as a major non-NATO ally country. Now, that is like the start of a Cold War in our generation. Hello, I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. Now, when we continue to reflect on this President Ruto's trip to the US. Now, we would on this video, I would like to show you, how Kenyans are divided when it comes to this, Ruto's trip to the US and how they view it. It will really shock you. Now, just to give you a quick background, President Ruto has paid, 1.2 million rented a jet from Dubai, from the royal jet, and that's how he traveled instead of taking the Kenyan Airways, which would have actually, signaled or introduced or promoted his own national airways, which just started, I think, months ago. But he justified it. He said that it's much cheaper than flying the Kenyan Airways, confusing people and misleading interpretation. Once people would think that that Kenyan Airways is really expensive, and for all those travel bloggers, now they come up, saying that the Kenyan Airways is the most expensive, even expensive than the royal jet. The other thing is that the security issue, which many translated it to that you cannot rely on your national airways. So this is the worst airline that even its own president will not choose it to fly with. Now, there is also the issue of the Kenyan police deployment to Haiti, and then Kenya has become now a major non-NATO ally, which will automatically, would mean that now the US can have an airbase in Kenya, in addition to the AFRICOM, which is the US military, in addition to the British military, and not just one place, in several places of Kenya. Now, this will be another addition to those military bases, which will allow them to go and bomb or whatever they want to do in the world using the bloods of or the lives of Kenyan military, backed by the US military. So that is just to give you a quick background amid, under what circumstances all this comes from. Now let's go and hear one of, the TV or the TV broadcast in Kenya said with regards to his trip to the US and, Kenya being an ally of NATO. Let's listen to this. I mean, it will shock you.
Are watching. What should we expect in the eyes of Africans are watching? What should we expect in terms of how, when the president now wraps up are watching, what should we expect in terms of how, when the president now wraps up that visit, comes back home, what sort of reactions should we expect from our neighbors immediately in East Africa and the rest of Africa? That's one. But also, two, remember, in the early part of President Ruto's leadership, he was molding himself to be this Pan-Africanist. And there was a lot of support from African countries. They were saying, this guy from Kenya looks to be the man, looks to be the natural successor to the Kwame Nkrumahs of this day. That has somewhat changed. What are we expecting in terms of reaction in that degree, in terms of the perception of not just Kenya, but its leader, but also what sort of posture should we expect in terms of trade, in terms of, more like politics from our neighbors?
You know what is very interesting is we must look at our neighbors through a lens. So Congo, Sunday, had a failed coup involving American citizens. They've said some few savory words towards the Americans. You've got Rwanda, which has a very pro-Rwanda way of approaching these things, right? And then
Rwanda first.
Yes. You've got Uganda, which this LGBTQ war and them telling the IMF to take a walk is different for them. Now, for those countries, the relationship between Kenya and the States will not change the relationship between Kenya and them. But politically, it will be a talking point, right? To be a talking point because, as you have said, Africa should not look to the West or the East as its savior. Africa needs to look towards Africa. And it's something even President Ruto has said, that Africa has to be for Africa. But that does not mean that we do not make allies. In fact, what I expect is many of the countries in Africa will now gravitate to Kenya to work closely because Kenya now has a direct access to a superpower.
That's right.
Right? If you look at Russia, for example, or China, and you tell me one country that has the status Kenya's now has with the States, there's none. There's none.
There isn't.
So Kenya becomes a de facto big boy gatekeeper to the United States, right? So in terms of the little politics here and there, yes. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, Kenya will become a port of call for help, right? Because they will figure if we are Sudan and we need help and we talk to Kenya, then Uncle Sam is just around.
Exactly. That's the question. What kind of help? Like for you, for Kenya to send military? Okay, now there is a problem in this and this country. Since we would like to intervene in that country, since we want those natural resources, since that country is very important from a geopolitics point of view. Now, instead of sending our US military, then we want to send the Kenyan military and we will back you all, in terms of equipment. That's exactly what it means. But he just said it in a nice word, help.
Around the corner. So this particular partnership, especially this non-NATO partnership, is so critical in terms of peace in the region, but it will also make Kenya of demand. Right?
Peace in the region. Since when American military comes or a NATO military comes in and there is a peace, I mean, we don't need to go far. We all have seen what happened when Ukraine is one big example. It's a non-NATO ally, which they wanted, for Ukraine to become a full ally, a full member, in which Russia opposed to it, but it was already a non-NATO ally. So we don't need to analyze it. We know exactly the fate of Ukraine, what happened to Ukraine, because Zelensky chose to play along America and its ally in Europe. So I just want to repeat what he says here. Just a second.
Or China, and you tell me one country that has the status Kenya's mean that we do not make allies. In fact, what I expect is many of the countries in Africa will now gravitate to Kenya to work closely because Kenya now has a direct access to a superpower.
That's right.
So he's telling us actually now many African countries are going to knock the door of Kenya because now Kenya has become that middleman between African countries and the United States. That's literally what he's saying.
Right.
Right? If you look at Russia, for example, or you China, and you tell me one country that has the status Kenya's now has with the States, there's none. There's none.
There isn't.
So Kenya becomes a de facto big boy gatekeeper to the United States.
Just so you know, I mean, in 2023, actually, Ethiopia, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, was awarded this the all-weather strategic partnership by the government of China, which is Xi Jinping himself, gave him, and it is the first of its kind even in the world, not only in Africa. That means it's an all-weather strategic partnership in dark times, better times. So in all kinds of cooperation, it's the first of its. So that's what the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has. Now, it's not just to say, oh, okay, Ethiopia has this and that, but for them, it's a lack of information. They should have assessed this, because there are countries which China see, at all times as a major partner in the continent. And of course, Kenya is not one of them. Another correction is that also they said, okay, the Democratic Republic of Congo, I mean, this analyst said Democratic Republic of Congo do not have a good relation because of just what happened a few days ago, the attempted coup or the thwarted coup, in which an American citizen was involved. Actually, 3 American citizens, the one who led it also, even if he's a Congolese by birth, but he has a US citizenship. So there is that rough road between DRC and the US. And when you come to Rwanda, okay, they said it's a pro-Rwanda policy. Now, when you come to, which they did not mention again, Ethiopia is, they have been following, Ethiopia has been following a developmental state policy. It's only when it benefits Ethiopia that they can create or have a partnership with the country, not necessarily allying with this and that. In fact, the policy of itself, where the principle of the country is that it's a non-alliance. There is this country which the countries are not an ally of the West or the East. There's a specific organization which I forgot the acronym of it right now, but so Ethiopia is not also a good partner for the US. We have had, our relationship during the past 2 years. It has gone to a different direction when there was a war in the northern part of the country. Take Somalia. Somalia is, they have their, in the 1990s, the beginning of 1990s, they know exactly what happened to the US military, which was an embarrassment. And now there's Djibouti, which is everyone has a base, a naval base in Djibouti. So they want that gate. And South Africa, if you go also other superpowers, is not, it's part of a BRICS. And Ethiopia actually has become, in fact, I will make a different analysis, how BRICS is a major factor now playing for Kenya to be selected now as a major non-NATO ally, because now most African countries are, going or driving towards BRICS. They want to be a member of BRICS, and Ethiopia and Egypt are the one now who officially joined BRICS. But there are others also who have applied, and BRICS is in generally, it has nothing to do with the West or with the northern part of our world. It is a South-South partnership. So there are these things surrounding of it. Now, Kenya has become the only, as they say proudly, a gatekeeper. So let me just play it a few seconds.
Right? So in terms of the little politics here and there, yes. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, Kenya will become a port of call for help, right? Because they will figure if we are Sudan and we need help and we talk to Kenya, then Uncle Sam is just around the corner. So this particular partnership, especially this non-NATO partnership, is so critical in terms of peace in the region, but it will also make Kenya of demand. Right? Because if you want to deal with things and you're in our region and you know Kenya has a partnership with Uncle Sam, it's like if I know your pal is a billionaire,
right?
You'll become a bit closer.
I'll just suddenly be invited to many Arambes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just, stop it there. Now, this is really, at its best, the best example of what comes out of a colonized mind. Now, these are journalists, Kenyan journalists coming on a state television and giving this kind of analysis. Now, how ignorant you could be that now you are boasting and saying Kenya becomes a gatekeeper and to help this and that. I mean, we're not dumb. We all have seen what, having Africa in the continent has costed us. Now, are you going to go boast, again, leasing your territory, the so-called sovereign territory to another, to a foreign power? I mean, leasing your security, that is at the expense of your own people and at the expense of the regional security, at the expense of the whole continent. That's what Kenya did. So this is what, what comes out of an ignorant mind. And if the people are saying like this, I mean, why are we surprised that President William Ruto is acting the way he's acting right now? Let me just go ahead and see. But of course, just because these journalists have said this doesn't mean or represent the whole Kenyans' view. Now, I want you to listen to this, influential activists, what they say about President Ruto's recent visit to the US. First of all, look, I want to share with you the protest that William Ruto has faced when he reached there.
You know Ruto is a slave, right? Yeah. He's a slave. Yes. He's a slave.
President William Ruto to advance.
He's a slave.
Why are you saying? Look, what's William Ruto, a happy slave. That's what it says. Exactly. Because this is slavery, but you do it willingly.
I'm from Haiti. That's why we are here today to protest against what Ruto is about to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Why do you think it's a bad thing? It's a bad thing.
You want to invade Haiti.
Yeah.
Is President William Ruto aware that his close relationship with Americans, or rather the American government, could be putting Kenya in jeopardy somehow?
Now let's go back to the local, to Kenyans, and what they have reflected with regard to their president's trip to the US and what he has agreed. Listen.
But what will the USA gain when they do that?
Kuku iko pale na wataka kuichinja. Si nini tu bro.
But
mahindi tu.
But what will the USA gain when they do that to with Kenya?
US will not send its troops to Haiti. It will send Kenyan policemen to go die and leave their children and wives. Number one. US will come and take the whole of Gigiri and Laikipia or wake their Air Force base.
Wait a minute.
Yes. They have started.
Yeah. So, as you have heard, this means, the Kenyans are very well aware that what it means, this agreement. Now, the the US will have its Air Force base, and who knows, Niger has kicked out the US military, and which, they used to have, still they did not, evacuate fully. They said mid of September is the last date for all the military to leave the Niger. So it was the biggest drone air base for US in the continent, in Africa. Okay, some say in the world, but I don't believe that. I think it's in Africa, the biggest drone air base, and they have it 2 places, in Agadez and Niamey in Niger. Now they are kicked out from there, and they're packing and leaving little by little, and that will relocate just to Kenya. And that what it means is, of course, whenever there is something, it started now with Haiti, that of course the Americans are tired of receiving dead body militaries of their own. They know there is a lot of hate against Americans, so why should they fight? Now they have to send another black man to a black country, so that that will save their face, and at the same time that will save the lives of the American people or the American military. It starts from there, but it doesn't end there. Now there is a lot of proxy wars in Africa that America has against Russia, against China, and for that proxy wars, it is the Africans who are paying the price. And Kenya will become now really, I mean, this man has to assess the loss, the diplomacy loss, the loss in economy. I don't know, which will be reflected later, but diplomatically now, these leaders in the region, in East Africa, are laying and just watching the move of President Ruto, because this is not acceptable at all. But that was it. I just wanted, to show you how Kenyans are divided when it comes to this. But let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this? That was it for me for now. Thanks again for tuning in. We have Alucin Kalai, Clifford, Forbes, GH, Simon, Attile. Let me see. Let me read what Ruth has become a major puppet. Ruto, you mean? I think Ruto has become a major puppet of UK and US. He has sold out the Kenyan people to continued enslavement. Kenyan, be awakened. Yeah, hopefully. I think they are. I mean, most of them. Simon Attile says, it's a shame that President Ruto joined NATO, whereas Africa has not got a united army to protect Africa. Exactly. It's to reflect. We have only the Sahel Alliance. Those 3 countries have a military alliance, by the way. This guy is funny. This is GH saying, this guy is funny, big boy. The US wants to use Kenya to invade Haiti. I don't think it will go as Ruto thinks. Remember, King Charles went to see Ruto, yes, after he ascended the throne. The guy's corrupted to the core. Why was it necessary to go talk with genocide Biden? Alucin says, we don't need any middleman or country between Africa and the USA or the West. It's about time for Africa to be independent. We have been saying that all along, but we have unfortunately leaders like this. I mean, it's not just Ruto, but a number of them in the continent that continue to do things on behalf of the people while, not consulting the nations that they lead. It's sad. Yeah, still we continue to be colonized, and we blame the previous colonial powers, the European Union, this and that, and you have your own people like this. Anyway, fam, let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this? That was it for me for now. Thank you for share the video. Please, if you like what we bring here, give it thumbs up. And if you want to help us further, go ahead and donate to our PayPal account. You can find the link in the description section. Please subscribe to the channel as well. And you will be notified, of course, if you hit that notification bell for new upcoming videos. It's a bye-bye for me for now.